So what are AI agents? I mean, AI agent could be a broader term. I mean, most of the people who are already using ChatGPT, I can give you a differentiation, like, what is the difference between ChatGPT and an AI agent that uh, we will talk about that in the coming slides. But before that, I just want to give a bit more information about what is these AI agents, because it's a very broader term. If you're coming from the ChatGPT world, you could definitely relate to this. I mean, we are talking about LLM powered AI agents, but it could also mean if someone I recently learned that is from manufacturing background. So manufacturing also has some embodied AI. So an AI agent could also be, Tesla self-driving cars. There are a lot of uh, other other areas where it could also mean robotic vacuum cleaners. Even they have some AI and they have some autonomy in them where it's just going out and, cleaning your house. So anything that can perceive, process, and act, that could be called as an AI agent in a broader term. So that's the reason why it is a broader term. So if you're coming from any other background, maybe robotics background, your perspective of AI agent could be different. And all of these mean the same thing. Anything that has a bit of autonomy, which can perceive, process, and act on a specific problem, we call it as as an artificial powered agent. And we will talk more about these. We are mostly focused on LLM powered AI agents. What are the frameworks to build those LLM powered AI agents? So just wanted to make that clear. Let's go ahead and get more into what this AI agents are. Today, as I said, we're going to talk about LLM powered AI agents. So we created something really good. I mean, ChatGPT is a large language model. The basic, the thing that really stands out in all of this, I mean, I'm just telling it's all of this humanity is we humans never build any system that does reasoning. I mean, we build rule-based systems, we did rule-based automation, but something that does reasoning is what makes ChatGPT stand out. And that really makes a huge leap for all of us as humans. So that's the evolution of these large language models like GPT-4. It could be like Cloud model from Anthropic or Llama. So they are, due to this reasoning power, now we are able to automate cognition driven task. So we could have a co-pilot attorney. We could have a developer co-pilot, which are really making every developer more productive, not because these are tasks which does require a lot of thinking. There's also these AI agents can basically, you could create or you can perform various cognitive tasks like humans. So what makes this AI agent different than ChatGPT is how we are using these underlying language models to perform a specific action. I mean, we are going ahead and asking a question on ChatGPT, but you ask it to book a flight or maybe plan your travel from one place to other place. It could probably do that planning, but what it is doing is it is actually doing everything in one go. It is basically not taking time to think. So if you ask ChatGPT to write an essay, then it will probably do it in one go. But you can tweak and change it through the next follow-up questions. But still, in order for it to think and write, it might, I mean, definitely if there are new models now, like O1 preview and O1 model, they are basically, that's the reason why they're thinking and giving you an output, because they are baking up the reasoning or the thinking aspect to it is actually baked into the model now. But before O1 preview, most of the cases, you need to ask a question and then you need to tweak it by asking follow-up questions. So what we're doing with agents is we are basically asking LLMs, series of questions, one after the other, and we are doing that programmatically. Or we are also doing that in a way that gives ability to not just give you an answer for this question that you're asking right now, but also taking into consideration the context, taking into consideration all of the previous interactions, and also taking into considerations like any tool that it has to use to get some things done. Because ChatGPT cannot go ahead and book your flights because ChatGPT doesn't have access to your portal, or it doesn't have access to flight details, or it doesn't have access to your payment details, right? But what if there's an AI agent that is powered by ChatGPT, a model that is powering ChatGPT, which is GPT-4, or any other models, any other large language model, and that does have access to tools to do something like go ahead and book a ticket by giving access to Google, or there are some APIs that Stripe came up with where AI agents can actually make payments. So what if your AI agent has access to that API? Then it can just go and make payments too. So this is where AI agents stand out when compared with the regular ChatGPT or regular other LLMs that you're already working on. Maybe from your local environments or maybe through the LLM providers. So cognitive task, maybe if it is maybe a medical or maybe a developer, co-pilots, those all would require access to different tools. They might require access to documentation on the internet. They might require a lot more information about your GitHub credentials. If it is you're a business owner, probably it requires access to your CRM systems to pull in some data regarding your customers, do some research about them, and then go ahead and act on that. So that is where these are the cognition-driven tasks that you still might be doing manually now, but that could be offloaded to an AI agent because those are repetitive tasks, but it can probably make you more productive by automating those repetitive tasks, which are still cognition-driven tasks. Previous to ChatGPT or large language model, they were AI automated chat bots and all, but those were all rule-based, or they are based on NLU, which is natural language understanding, which is a bit it's not as advanced as the large language models. So that's the reason why now LLMs or this AI agents are opening up opportunities to a whole new industry. You would have a recruiter co-pilot who can help. Recruiters would have a lot of work in screening thousands of candidates. Maybe you have an LLM would help recruiters to find do more research about that candidate to see if the candidate is actually suitable for the specific role or not. So a recruiter could be a lot more productive now. Instead of screening like 500, maybe they might do 10,000 screenings now with the help of AI. And also improving quality of life. You're not on phone all the time. You just have this AI agents working for you and coming back and giving you a output or giving you a response on all the insights about the candidates and also working on different characteristics of a candidate. So you could create these AI agents that can work for you. But we can't completely trust these systems. These systems are a bit brittle. They can hallucinate. So there's a lot of guardrails that we need to put in, and I think we'll discuss that as we go by. But this entire presentation is mostly around frameworks to build it. So we'll be talking about different frameworks which are already available outside to build it. And there are both. If someone is not aware of coding or they are not developer, then there are also low code or no code tools too that we'll be discussing in this presentation. So what is an AI agent? What are the different components in an AI agent? So that is something, this will be very important because this is what makes AI agent. This is an abstraction that could be applied to any framework, but these are the important components that AI agent should possess. So they should have ability to plan. If in case you are asking a chat bot to plan a vacation, then it should be able to search for flights, hotels, activities, but it has to plan it by breaking it down. So it has to first book flights and then look for hotels and then look for different activities. So it has to divide all of the complex tasks into different chunks and then work on it. So ability to plan is something need to be AI agents should be able to do. And this planning is usually done by models like LLMs already are good with it. So ChatGPT or other models, large language models, can actually be excellent planners. So they can basically do better planning by dividing the task into, a complex task into smaller problems and then coming up with a response. But you don't have much of control there, because even though if you go into ChatGPT portal and ask it to plan, it might give you a response in like instantly. But if you are really using it to do maybe a really complex task, like in your business, or you want to have send an email to all of your customers, or maybe they could be a marketing campaign that you're running, that there the task could be even more complicated. You might have to plan things, but also plan it with your own data. So ChatGPT may not work there. So you might need a custom AI agent that does it. And coming to the actions, methods employed by, these are just different actions an AI agent has to do. So if in case it has to go ahead, book, even though there's a planning phase where it has to go ahead and plan all of the different tasks, it has to act on those tasks. It has to, in order to book your flight, it should know, in order to actually plan your vacation, there should be an action to book your flight. There could be an action to, look for activities, or go ahead and search for different hotels in that location, or, or maybe there could be an, itinerary that you have to email. So there could be different actions from any task. These actions are actually done by different tools. So these are the tools that an AI agent would have access to. It could interact with external systems, or various internal systems, and then it should able to perform those actions. So these are tools that an AI agent should have. So it could be access to your calendar, because AI agents should know whether the date. It should actually know the current date, because otherwise, if you're just asking it to do the booking for next week without it knowing the current date, it may not give that input to the it might not give the same input to the while doing the booking in the browser. It has to put the date, so it should know what is the current date. So it should know it should have access to a tool like calendar or calculator if it is doing some kind of complex calculations, because LLMs or ChatGPT is not good with math, so it can use external tools like calculator to do actual math. It has to do search. So because it has to look for different hotels, so it need a browser. So just like how we humans need a browser, so even they need to have access to a browser. So search could be one of the tools. So these are different kinds of tools, and there could be a lot more tools. If your CRM systems could be a tool that it is using them to access your customer data, and then acting on it. Or it could also be tools like, if you're a developer, then it might be using different tools like your GitHub to to clone your code and then act on it. Memory is very important, because that does make your AI agent more personalized, because these AI agents are working for you. I mean, ChatGPT should already have an access. It should already, if you're using ChatGPT and you're a paid user, I think whenever you type in some question, you see an option there that memory is updated. Yeah, the memory is updated because it keeps on storing all these memories to create, to understand you. If you're creating a personal agent, which is just planning your maybe your trips to, or it could even be something that is doing your agent that is giving you emotional support, it should able to understand your background, should able to understand your previous experiences. It should able to, even a travel agent should know your previous preferences that you went through. Maybe you're not inclined, you're not really interested in flights which are early morning. So your AI agent should learn that, because that will be really helpful for you to, personalize all of your future actions, and make it tuned to your own preferences. So AI agents should have a long-term memory and a short-term memory. So that's a very important aspect that will make these AI agents more personalized and more fine-tuned towards your task and your business, or your any task that you have. So. So we will be also talking about some frameworks that we'll be using to build all this. Any questions so far? I just wanted to stop here. Anyone has any questions? Okay, if not, then I can just continue. So we'll be talking about the agentic patterns. So what are these patterns? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So basically, just like how we humans reflect, let's say if I'm asked to write an essay, maybe of 1,000 words, I would probably not write it in one go. I would probably stop, rethink, reflect on what I've written, improve it, and then again write. So this is a very important pattern, because that will definitely give you a high quality output. If you ask ChatGPT the same thing, it might give you a response straight away. And probably you could still ask the follow-up questions, then, hey, maybe, you make it more, improve it a bit more, or you might ask it to, you know, make it or make some changes, or you could even ask it to think maybe for a minute and then give you the best response. ChatGPT cannot do that, because it's a LLM that's provided by the vendor. But if in case if you create an agentic platform, agentic pattern, where you are doing these things programmatically by using the frameworks that we're going to discuss today, you could make the output from a chatbot, or maybe a LLM powered AI agent, really a high quality output. The response would be really of a better quality. So the reflection is important. And also, you should know if you worked on something, maybe, if you're a developer and this AI agent is working on the code, then you should be able to go back and see if the code really has proper logging in place, or it does have any issues or any bugs. So you need to reflect on that. So after you read the code, you might go ahead and review your code. So just like that, this reflection is a very important pattern that will really make an AI agent more powerful. React is one of the popular pattern, where we are just we are reasoning and then acting on it. So it's definitely need to reason and then act on it. So if in case you're trying to book a flight, you should know that it has to have access to a browser to go ahead and get the flight details. So it has to reason on what it has to do, and then go ahead and act on it. So that's one of the important things. So reasoning does have chain of thoughts. So chain of thoughts is you're just breaking down a bigger problem to smaller chunks, and then you're just going ahead and then acting on those specific problems. So you're just going ahead. Okay, you need to book a flight, so it has to go ahead, open the browser, and start looking for the flights, and then it will get a feedback of it if it is able to even open the browser or not. If not, then it usually goes back and start doing that over again. So it has to reason and act on it. So this is one of the fundamental pattern that you will see in a lot of agentic approaches. So it's not all of these patterns are just very similar to how we humans do a specific task. We are basically using the similar approach and building AI agents just emulating our human thought process, emulating how we do our day-to-day cognitive task, and then implementing these patterns through code, or even no-code tools also exist. So we'll be discussing those as we move on. And prompt engineering is really important for agents, because the agent, in order to create an agent, you need to define the task of the agent, what the agent has to do. What is the if you're booking a travel, if you're building a travel agent, you should be able to craft that agent with the proper system prompt. The system prompt could be something that tells your agent what it is. Like, you have to define that, oh, you're a travel agent, you're supposed to do this booking, and you help the customers to book to plan the trips, and give a proper detailed explanation about what that agent is supposed to do and what it is not supposed to do. So this all, end of the day, boils down to prompt engineering. And prompt engineering, it's pretty specific to a domain. I mean, prompt engineering, even though there might be expert prompt engineers out there, but uh, the expertise only lies in the domain. I mean, if you're a business owner, you could be the expert prompt engineer in your business, because you know the problems well. Even if you get an expert prompt engineer, he might not craft a proper prompt, because he doesn't know about your business. So the domain knowledge is really important to craft an agent. So if you're building an AI agent for your business, you should know exactly what this AI agent does. You should be able to give more context to that AI agent on what it is and what it has to work on, and also all of the conditions that it has to look for, while working on any specific problem. Quality of response will be really good, based on, if the prompt is not good, your AI agent would not work properly. So prompting or giving this proper crafting this AI agent all depends on how well you write your prompt. And even the effective usage of tools. In order for, how would your agent know to use a specific tool? So that is also something that we would actually put in a system prompt. We'll tell it, hey, if in case you are asked to do this, then use this tool. So or if in case you are asked to go ahead and find candidates on a job board, so probably you need to go ahead and use Indeed, or maybe any of your databases. So these are different tool usage that you probably need to tell your agent. Or if you can think of this to be more of like a documentation for your agent, that it can refer and then work on a specific problem. So that does define your agent's personality altogether. So yeah, I think so far it's just we spoke about all of these abstracted things on what an AI agent is, what are the different components that it has in a high level, and how we are implementing this. From now we'll be going ahead and looking for talk about these frameworks which are already out there. This is a LangGraph is a framework that is from LangChain. I don't know if anyone have already heard about this, but the LangGraph is a very popular framework, and you could build different agents using this LangGraph. It does support building stateful agents. So stateful agent is something that does have state. I mean, let's say your travel agent is working on a specific booking, and then if maybe there is a issue, something got interrupted, maybe your when it is working, maybe your ChatGPT is down, then it has to recover from that problem, right? So your system, your agent should be stateful in order to know where it stopped while working on the previous research, where it stopped and how to stop from where it stopped. So rather than starting all over again, if it is working on your business, it should know what it did previously, and then what was the current state of the previous action. Oh, it went in and sent this email to your customer. So what is the next step? So you need to have everything in a stateful manner. If you're this is only achieved through agents, and if you see ChatGPT, it's stateless. I mean, it might to some extent, it can be stateful. I mean, when you have ChatGPT, you might have like bunch of conversations one after the other. But after 4 or 5 conversations, it might miss context. It doesn't understand your context. Or if you restart ChatGPT, you have to again start over again with your question, because it's stateless. ChatGPT is just taking your request ad hocly. It doesn't create any state of any operations, or if you're creating an agent to work or to automate any of your tasks, it should have a state. So that is what LangGraph provides. It provides stateful multi-agent applications, because when you see a setting, all the examples that we spoke about till now is probably a travel agent, or maybe some simple agents. But if you are trying to automate, or if you're trying to create a team, maybe a content creator agent, that could not have only one agent. It could have, like, you could create like a team. You can emulate a team where one would be a senior content creator, they could be junior content creators. You could create different agents with different personas, or maybe you could create a manager agent, and then you have all of the other subordinate agents who are working on independent tasks. So you could create a setup like this. You could also create like a senior software engineer. You could have an architect. You could have a tester. You could create all of these multi-agent applications too with this framework. So that is quite possible. I mean, with all of the frameworks now which are out there, multi-agent frame applications can definitely be created. But the advantage of multi-agent is you could just map the existing organizational hierarchies, right? Because it's always better to have a manager and have this segregation of duties, so that the output of the quality of work is good. And also, if any of the agent hallucinated, right? Because you can't trust LLMs because they can hallucinate. But if you have multi-agent applications, some of the agents can validate the response from the other agents. That way, you're getting a feedback. Okay, you ask your agent to generate, write a specific joke, but in order to make sure that joke is not, offending to anyone, you might create a separate agent that validates. It checks if there are anything that is offensive. So by creating multi-agent applications, you're basically creating additional guardrails to check the quality, and also to help your agents produce, to ground them, and also to generate a validated data, to generate a validated information. So this will really help, in multiple ways. Multi-agent applications can be of great use in enterprise setting. And also, it creates cyclic graphs. So the name, as the name implies, right? If you see the diagram here, you could create different nodes. You have a node 1, you have conditional edges. So a node 1 could just be a call to an LLM. So it could be, okay, now you have, you could take an example of, you want to go ahead and probably do probably do a booking for a flight, or maybe you're trying to have a specific action to look for restaurants nearby. So you could have the first node just go ahead and search for restaurants, but the conditional edge is where you can put a condition that if those are near, if they are like near to you, or if they are far away, maybe 30 minutes away. So this could actually create a different workflow here. So this would be a new call to all of the restaurants which are like a bit far away, and these are like really nearby where you can actually order at Togo. So this could be a new call to those restaurants which are nearby, and this could be a call to a different restaurants which are far away. So this, you can create different graphs with different nodes. That way you are defining your actions, defining your workflows with a structure. That way you're grounding your process. Your business processes, you can't you need to, business processes would follow a specific structure. So you cannot just have LLM decide on it actions. You can't allow the LLM to do all the planning, because LLMs could hallucinate and the planning might go wrong and they just give you a very bad response. So it's always better to have this kind of grounding and have this kind of architecture that is emulates a graph-based architecture that can make your LLM follow a specific process. So that's the beauty of LangGraph framework. So LangGraph will enable that. So that's the reason why, if you're working for a financial client, or if you're working for any regulated industries, they, or any enterprises, they all tend to use LangGraph. I mean, the adoption is increasing day by day, and there are also a lot of AI tools out there. I don't know if you have heard about Replit agents, which is agent to develop software. So they all follow the similar pattern, where they have a graph. They have these graphs follow a similar pattern to build the code, and then once the code is built, then they have tests. So the test cases need to be written, and the test cases are written, and it went through. Then it has to go and deploy the code. So this example is for all the developers in this call. But if you are looking for a generic example, it could be a similar travel agent or recruitment agent. You need to follow a process. First, you need to screen the candidates, and then comes the first round, and then comes the second round, and then comes the offer. So all of these processes could be defined as different nodes, and then different conditions too. Like, if the candidate is maybe the candidate is not good with certain tools, maybe he would have a specific other a different process, and maybe they have to go through additional screening. Maybe if the candidate is good, then he may not require additional screening, and they might just go into the first round. So you could create a graph-based workflow and have your agent follow that workflow. And it cannot deviate from that workflow. So this way you have confidence that your agents are not hallucinating, or they're not giving you some weird response. So they do have conditional edges. Dynamic routing is really something that you could implement. And also the conditional edge could also be human in the loop. So human in the loop is very important. I mean, we do have some agents. We internally have some agents which does marketing. So all of our content on our LinkedIn page is actually generated by an AI agent. So we don't allow AI agent to just go out there and generate a content and just post it. We have human in the loop. The content is generated. We just come in there and we review if the content is good. And if the content is suitable for Twitter, then okay, it will just go and post on Twitter. If the content is suitable for LinkedIn, we'll just tag it, post on LinkedIn, it'll just go and post on LinkedIn. And if the content is technical, we have a different workflow on way to post that content. So you see, this conditional edges are really something that will also have us humans to review that response of LLMs, and then go ahead and have a trigger point to just go ahead and post, or define the workflow. This dynamic routing is something that we can implement through human in the loop pattern. And I see it's a very powerful pattern. Human in the loop is always needed for these agents. You cannot never have these agents do all by themselves, everything. If you are relying them on doing some very critical operations, maybe sending email to your customers, then you can't just automate that process entirely. You should at least review. Even though you have multi-agent application, even though you create one more agent to validate it, end of the day, it's always better to have human look at the output, approve it, and then go ahead and post it. So that's the reason why I know a lot of people have misconception that, AI might take away jobs, or AI might eliminate some jobs. But I don't think that will never happen, because, I've been working in AI for a while, and we cannot trust these systems. We will be the one of the best managers out there. We'll be managing these systems, even though they are doing cognition work. We will be managing them, and we will never let them loose. And that is always the case. And yeah, this is one of the similar workflow. How a simpler user request. There's a planning that goes on. There's a task that is generated. This is all the LangGraph. How a generic graph-based cognitive architecture in LangGraph looks like. one node could do planning, the other node would have a task list, and then they'll have different other nodes which are basically executing those tasks. And you also see here you're looping to solve a task. The loop is very important because, okay, now you have this system to go ahead and probably get few interview few candidates. If it was not able to do it in the first place because maybe some issues, it was not able to access to your phone system, or it is not able to reach to the candidate, it has to go back and loop again and try it again till it actually goes and talks to at least few candidates, right? It can't just do it one time. If the system fails, then it will not get any output. So sometimes loops are important, but not too many loops, because if you implement too many loops, you're just burning your tokens. End of the day, you have to balance out how many times you're sending a request to ChatGPT or any of these model APIs, and then plan your budgeting that way. So loops are good, but 2 or 3 loops are good, but it can't be infinite loop, because there could be a time where your agent just hallucinates and just keep on looping and just burning your pocket. So always better to have a loop, but also in a proper way, a reasonable number of loops. And you see here, there's update state with task results. Okay, today, now, it went in, it recruited, or maybe it got some candidates that need to be screened, and then it will just go and update and say, okay, we only got few candidates. Maybe we need to, change our strategy. It'll just go and do a replanning and replan new task and go back and iterate on this. So this is this is how it can basically you can create a workflow, a cognitive architecture on how it can think about a problem, come back with a response, and take and have those loops going. Next, yeah. So this is one of the frameworks that we spoke about. It's called LangGraph. It's if you're already a Python programmer, or if you already have some JavaScript experience, I would recommend you working on LangGraph. It's a bit complicated. I mean, in the first place, if you want to just go ahead and jump into LangGraph, I would not. I mean, but if you are an enterprise architect, or if you are working in a regulated industry and you want to work on a simple example that you can showcase to your to your client, then I would LangGraph is great, but it is really complicated to begin your work with. It's really complicated to start with. The simpler framework would be CrewAI. I mean, CrewAI, I mean, if you're not a developer, just don't worry. I do have other frameworks for non-developers. There are some no-code tools that I will be discussing, but these first two frameworks are actually for people who actually code. And yeah, there's a lot of misconception outside. They say, oh, there are some tools which can help you code, code generators, or this AI code generators which can generate code. But still, I mean, trust me, if you're really very new to coding, please don't go with those tools, because it's better you go with low code tools or no code tools, but not these tools by using code generators, because I've seen a lot of as I said, you cannot trust these systems, even though you ask them to code your application. And if you're new to coding, you still have to have this human in the loop. You should be able to review what it is coding there, right? If you don't understand that, then it can hallucinate and it can add additional code which is not useful, or they can mess up the file path. So it's always better to go with low code tool or no code tool if you are new to coding. If you're already a developer, then yeah, you could use code generators, or you can go with these frameworks. CrewAI is a very popular framework. I think recently a lot of even Apple and other big companies are actually looking for people with CrewAI experience. I mean, because CrewAI, as the name implies, you can create crews with them. So crews like, oh, you can create a team of engineers, maybe your whole marketing team, or you can create your own development teams. I mean, when I say teams, it's just the multi-agent application that we spoke about before. You're just creating multiple agents and they all working together. So, but this framework really provides easy way to start. There's not a lot of code. There's pretty simple, basic code that you can start off with. There's only a few YAML files that you can change in order to work with. And if you are really new to coding, I think I can say it is you could basically pick up on this framework really easily. But yeah, so you're basically creating teams, you're creating crews to work on different tasks. So that is what CrewAI framework really enables, and it does have memory to it. I mean, all of these frameworks does provide the all of these aspects. I mean, these frameworks do provide access to tools, they provide access to memory, they provide access to planning, actions. All of these are already something that I don't want to go more deeper into how, and because that would be a bigger presentation. So I just wanted to tell you these frameworks do provide memory access, they do provide tools access. So every framework has their own way of implementing tools. So you can even have browsers, calendars, calculators. If they want access to it, they all are provided out of the box. So you don't have to write everything from scratch. So CrewAI can be used to build those agents which can work together. So if you see here, you are just asking, oh, create this app for me, please. And then you have this AI crew where you have like an expert writer, and then it's an expert researcher, then an expert engineer. So basically you have this, in order to build an application, you have an engineer working on engineering things, but there is also a writer who writes about maybe a documentation, and the researcher who research about that app. So you could create a crew this way and have them loop through to produce you the best app output. So that way you're role playing this entire crew and producing the best output. So this is one of the use cases in with CrewAI. You could implement. I mean, anything that you want to implement with CrewAI, you could also do it through LangGraph. It's not really not rocket science. And it's AutoGen. So this is AutoGen. I think I heard someone was from Azure. So, or they have access to Azure. So AutoGen is a framework from Microsoft. Okay, it's I think they do have some playgrounds on Azure. Azure is a cloud from Microsoft, so it's a framework from Microsoft. So yeah, same thing here. You could implement a lot of multi-agent collaborations, and you have different complex tasks that you can break down, and you can work on it. So very modular, reusable components. So AutoGen is one of the frameworks that you can use. There are people who are using it in production, even though Microsoft doesn't recommend that. But yeah, there are people who are already doing that. Yeah, see, it's a similar way, you have a conversational agent. You again see a multi-agent conversations, different agent conversations. You also see hierarchical chat. So you have a manager, you have different subordinates who are working on different tasks, and they're reporting back that response to the main organizer. And there's a joint chat where everyone is chatting with each other to produce an output. So you can create all these patterns and come up with the best response. And you see here, you have access to OpenAI or ChatGPT, and you have tools. This mentions this is a sign for a tool, and so yeah. So these are all different patterns that you can implement here. So this is a Flowise. So Flowise is a low-code tool. I think this, if you're really new to coding, I think this is it's a low-code tool. So I think anyone can pick it up and work on it. So it's open source as well. I mean, all these frameworks are open source. There's nothing like a closed source unless the models are closed source. I mean, OpenAI, ChatGPT is closed source. Llama from Meta is not closed source. It's an open source model. But yeah, but these frameworks are all open source. So Flowise is open source framework. All you do is, in order to build your agents, you just come here and just click these boxes and create it. So if you see here, it just what it's trying to do is, it has a web scraper. It's just going out and scraping the web. And you have memory here, which is an in-memory vector store. And you also have embeddings. And then you have a small interface or small building block for just chatting with it. So you have a lot of these things which are out of the box that you can just work by connecting these different outputs together and build an agent. So you don't have to write code. It's just, it's just simple way to create your AI agent by dropping and dragging and dropping different boxes. It is not hosted. solution. It is open source. So if you really want to use it, I think they might have access to their cloud. So you can go ahead and start, working on this. Flowise. I can share the links shortly. And there's one more framework. It's called n8n. I don't know if anyone have heard of this. This is a n8n has a lot of integrations. I mean, if you want to, it's like a no-code tool, so it's even more simpler, where you just come here, you can just add, maybe there's an AI agent, and you're just giving it access to the memory where it stores all your memory. And here you have access to your tools. It could be calculator or Wikipedia. And here you have access to your model. You could use any model. Here they are using OpenAI GPT-4 model. And here you have an input block to send your message. So it's a simple way to build your model, to build your agents. So this is n8n. It is open source if in case you're using it for your use case. Maybe you have your business and you want to use it for your own business. Yeah, you could do it, but you can't sell it. Maybe you can't host and sell it to others. So it's open source in that sense. You could use it for yourself, your personal, for your own personal work, but not for commercializing or redistributing it. So reselling is not allowed, but it's still allowed, but maybe there are some terms that you need to go through, or you need to affiliate with them to do that. But as of now, it's just, it is still open source. So if you want to create some basic agents for yourself, you could do that. They do have n8n cloud access, where you can create small workflows for yourself. There are a lot of great YouTube videos for n8n that you can implement. And anyone, honestly, I've already given some tasks to some of the folks who are not developers. They were able to implement really cool agents with this. You don't have to be an expert. You could just use this and automate any of your workflows just by dragging and dropping things. Yeah, so these are the frameworks which I spoke about, which are basically to create your agents. Okay, they also have memory. They all provide memory out of the box, but there are also some memory specific frameworks. This MemGPT is actually memory framework. So the thing is, in order to when you're chatting with your, or when you're working with your agents, usually memory would be very important for it, because it should be able to recollect your previous memory. It should be able to recollect the previous task it did. Your agent could be working on different tasks. Maybe there should be some episodic memory. There could be some entity memory. It should be able to understand your friends. It should be able to know, what you are as a person. It should be able to know your age. It should also know your previous interactions with it. So there are some kind of details that it should, if in case you're building a personal agent, then yeah, it should know about your personal details. Or if in case it is working on your business, it should know about your product. So that it should always be in its memory. If it is not in its memory, then it might not give you the right output. If it is not able to retrieve the proper memory, then it will probably think of it as a different, altogether a new, it's almost like memory loss. You're almost talking to a person who has a memory loss, who doesn't remember stuff. So memory is a very key component, and that's the reason why there are only frameworks which are out there only for memory. MemGPT is one of them. It's one of the famous thing, and they created it just based on how the RAM and everything were just inspired by that framework, MemGPT. Like a virtual memory in the operating system, how it works. They basically got inspired by that. I mean, if you are into systems engineering, then you probably understand virtual memory. So it's a similar concept here. So you need to have all of this information stored, and then you need to it manages long-term memory, and because LLMs doesn't understand, it doesn't have even ChatGPT doesn't give access to like unlimited memory. And after a few days, probably your memory is full. Then probably they'll say, your memory, you need to clear off your memory. But imagine you have a personal agent that just remember everything over years and years of your information. Then it will probably be. I mean, there are a lot of people already doing it. It's called character AI. I don't know if anyone of using it. Probably it's very A lot of young people are using that character AI, where they can have tutors, they have different characters that they interact with, that chat with. So what they're trying to do is to create this long-term memory as much as possible. Then they would be more attached to that character, because if something is able to recollect it from its memory and talk to you, then yeah, your connection with system really enhances. You don't feel like you're talking to a machine. You probably feel like you're actually talking to a person, because it's able to recollect all of your previous memories or previous interactions. So it does understand you or your business. And Mem0 is also one of the other frameworks to manage memories. It does provide user sessions and AI agent management. You should also update your memories. So your memory should not be static. I mean, you should keep on updating your memories, because tomorrow you have your product, and your product has few features, but some features we don't need those features anymore. So we probably need to you probably need to tell your agent that, hey, our product, we removed that feature in our product. Then your agent should learn that and update it memory that, okay, this feature is no more in your in the product. The following conversations, it should not again consider that feature, because it should know that that feature is gone. Maybe if you're friends with someone and tomorrow you come and say you had a fight and you're now no more friends anymore, then it should never again book any hotel reservation. If you ever are going out to book a reservation at the hotel, it should not consider that name, because it should know that you're not friends with that person anymore. So it will only happen when it has to go and update that memory. It will update that, okay, Raj is not friends with him anymore, so probably it should not have that booking, and that will make the systems more robust. So yeah, I think this is the other framework. Any questions? I mean, we are almost done. I've come. This framework is this event is just to introduce you some frameworks and all. But we will have sessions to actually implement these agents, travel agents, recruiter agent, and all of them in January session. And also we are looking for we will be having Agent University by then, so that everyone can implement them in your own pace. It will not
Oh,
be
good.
event.
Good. I am really impressed with your presentation. I Everything that you're saying here, I've been able to follow, and I've worked in, started dabbling in. I did have a couple of questions.
Yeah, Anish, go ahead.
One is RAGs.
Yes.
Two is normalizing my data from my different data sources, and if I should use BI to do that. I'm a non-programmer, so I prefer to use no code or low code.
Mm-hmm.
And two, at what point should I hand off some parts or components either to normalize the data for me, because I want to be able to integrate. I want to be able to integrate a business application. I want to be able to integrate a uh, uh, possibly the APIs to the website, and bringing that information in, and then the the other components are some of the ones we were talking about, but being able to, oh, I've lost my train of thought. Let me try to get it back here. The when you Once you normalize the data and you start that memory function, that was the one. I've been experimenting exactly what you're saying about memory and how it operates within the Chat GPT model, and how it's limited in its form. And when I'm accessing the data, for instance, off of one of the applications that I'm working in, through their connection to the LLM that they're using. They might be using maybe one or two models, one model to verify what the other model's output is. I'm thinking that I have to be able to use my API connection through my model so that my model is memorizing and remembering everything about me and all of the steps that I took to get to where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do I need to normalize the data?
Mm-hmm.
And can what level of skill set do I need to use those like for instance, we use a program called Lightspeed. It's a retail application. It's really good at the transaction point, which is in a store. But once it gets from there on the back end has little or no tools to take that information and really do a whole lot with it. They've got a few little simple things, and they want you to invest in other apps to connect to be able to display that information in a more readable form. And
Hey,
I was thinking,
can I chime in here for a second, Ernie? I'm
yeah,
not part of the thing here, but you may want to take a look at Microsoft Fabric.
I heard about Fabric, and I've been
Yeah.
doing some research on it, but I haven't used it yet.
I mean, data wrangling, right, is a discipline in itself and a career for a lot of people, right? So it's not an easy thing, but certainly I just recently took some stuff with data with Microsoft Fabric, and it includes Power BI and other stuff. But one of the things that I was impressed with is its ability to be able to take in data from a lot of dissimilar sources to help you churn through it. So, find missing and missing data. I think you're talking about stuff like that, like missing data, or maybe it's malformed, or missing rows, or stuff like that, right? And you're just trying to get everything in a capital letter, or remove all the caps and only make it camel case or whatever, right? And it has a lot of those tools baked in that I used to do in Python all the time. And so I would strongly take an urge at looking at that. And it's really good about taking all the data from all these dissimilar sources and then putting it in one data hub. So you could actually bring in from websites and from databases and CSV files and Excels or whatever you want, right? And they make it very easy to create relationships between all the dissimilar sources and make it into like one readable bit of data. So that's I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but I thought I'd just chime in there.
No, I mean, that's good that you brought that up. That kind of reinforces where my learning process has been taking me. And that's where I ended up, was on BI in Fabric. And the problem with me being a business owner, I'm doing all this training and learning basically on my own. And so it's kind of real important that when I start really rolling my sleeves up, that I'm heading in the right direction. A good question would be, is what kind of learning curve am I looking at?
So, so is it, I mean, when you're talking about this normalizing, is it just normalizing the data across different sources, or do you have any workflow on which data source, where the data has to come from for which workflow? Is it dynamic on that, on the kind of data source?
Well, I know that when somebody rings something up at a register, that information's got to come in. That, and maybe a few other variables: cost, quantity on hand, reorder levels, maybe something like that. And then the website, it creates, it's independent. They're not integrated. So the other services, the website, which is a big commerce website, where it creates sales and information and tracks. There's customers that are there that really need to be brought in, and the term wouldn't be commingle, but bring the customers from Lightspeed, which is the retail app, with the big commerce customers, and then integrate all that over into the CRM.
Okay.
And I'm not quite, I haven't got all my components. I'm trying to pick all the softwares that I like or love or have I've got the learning curve already taken care of. It's just that now I want to try to bring them all together, and I'm not sure if it's a large learning curve, then I want to sidestep that and then source that out to someone that can take care of that heavy lifting for me, and then I can stay focused back on the end goal.
Okay. So yeah, it's more of it's a data problem. So here, basically, you're trying to have all the sources and standardize the data from across different sources. I think it's more of an engineering problem. I think it shouldn't be really a tough thing to solve. I think we do a lot of data engineering work, so definitely we can talk more about that, Ernie. So it's not a
Okay.
issue. We are working on
Excuse
sales, marketing kind of workflows where we're doing similar kind of work, and we're doing more in the AWS and Azure. We're getting data from across different systems. But point of sale, we did some similar kind of work to a retail client, but where we are just sending all of this local processing. We're doing a lot of processing on point of sale systems and using Kafka to send out this data stream to to the cloud. So that's something that we have previously done. But yeah, but anything to do with agents here, Ernie? I mean, do you have any? What is your end goal? What are you trying to do for the end goal here?
Well, that was what I was hoping to do, was to bring it in and then complement it with the different agents, maybe Anthropic, Chat GPT, because Anthropic will give me, like, if I'm doing like a post, a blog post, I can use, I like Chat GPT, and the engine that is being on one of the softwares uses that engine to develop some of the back end stuff, but Anthropic has a better control over the information and data that I'm looking for. So it's kind of like they complement each other, but it's specific tasks within my workflow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could still use multiple agents, multiple models with the same agent. There's a framework called Light LLM that you could use to have have a layer. You could still use different models and also have a separate memory part to it. So even though you're calling different models, you have your own memory layer that is personal to you. That could be implemented with RAG systems. Like, I mean, what memory is basically RAG? I mean, if you're already aware of RAG, it's basically doing the same information retrieval, all of the facts that are actually stored in a vector DB, and you're just retrieving it. But when you're doing this retrieval, you're making sure that your memories are properly managed. Your memories are properly stored in a concise way, because you don't want to retrieve huge amounts of data from your RAG system, because your retrieval could error out, and that will again not provide the best output for you. So yeah, definitely there are ways to, if in case you feel like Anthropic is better, you could still use the same cognition across. You could call Anthropic to offload any of your queries. Maybe specific queries could be routed to Anthropic, and you could have other queries routed to ChatGPT. That's also a possible approach that you can take. But for even that, it has to be done programmatically. I don't think there's any no-code tools for that as of now.
Excuse me, sir, I have a question, if that's all right.
So go ahead.
I'm retired, and I'm building an avatar that can go on to Zoom and will do sign language for people on Zoom as they speak. I found that LLMs and vector databases get very large with a lot of the images, etc. And I hope I'm on the right track. I haven't seen anybody do this, but I am doing a spline algorithm analysis on the movement of the sign, and then storing the formula and the vectors associated with the movement of the sign, and using that instead of images or words. That the text to speech doesn't really, or speech to text doesn't really go over until the final real time with Zoom. But I haven't seen anybody else storing formulas in combination with their vector responses for answers back to problems that they have. I'm hoping this will immensely reduce my storage requirements and the amount of processing. I'm using Python and DeepSeek and ChatGPT, but does this sound like something that is the right approach to use the formula and vectors, the actual matrices stored in the LLM and the vector store, as opposed to huge amounts of information? Thank you.
Yeah, Todd. So, Todd, are you generating, so based on the speech to text, you're generating the sign language, right? You're actually generating some, is it some person doing the signs and all?
Yes.
And it has to be
What
dynamic. Mhm.
Yes, sir. What I did was I went out to the AmericanSignLanguage.org, ASL.org, and they have videos of each word, and I picked the Oxford Dictionary's 3,000 common words. I could have done 5,000, but so I picked those words, and then I analyze the video for that word in terms of the movement of the hands and the movement of the eyes and mouth for facial portions of the ASL. And then I produce a wireframe, which then I overlay with an avatar. It looks human. And so it'll come on Zoom, and as a person speaks, the avatar will start moving in sign language.
Okay. Yes, I mean, definitely, I think, so multimodal model, I think, but here you're talking about generations or mapping the text to back into the image. So, but also it has to be contextual, right? Because it has to be a video generation, because it cannot be like, hey, you have this text, but I think you should also have it's pretty dynamic. So I think it's possible, but you need to work with video generation part here, or even image generation. I think ChatGPTs could do image generation well. Like if you go into ChatGPT and ask it, okay, can you give me a sign language for this? But we don't know how, we cannot control that because it's very undeterministic. The video generation, it's very undeterministic. So unless you could just map it to word to the sign language and have it somehow show dynamically, that way it is deterministic. Because if you the movements, if you're trying to go in that route, yeah, I think it will be a really complicated task, is what I believe. But if in case you're just mapping the word into the sign language translation and then have everything stitched together dynamically, it is better. But only thing is you need to have that the database of all of this mappings together. So but relying on LLM to generate, or diffusion model to generate sign language, I don't think it would be a best option there.
Yeah, I would think the biggest challenge we're going to have there is to real time generate the video, right?
Yes.
I mean, you go to Stable Diffusion and some of the other models, right? And there's a lot of models out there where you can type text to video, and it'll give you what you want, and you can get pretty sophisticated. But the processing it takes to do that, I do a lot with Stable Diffusion, and this is a hobby. And but the processing and the time it takes to do that, I think we just I don't know if we're there yet, because you'd have to do real time processing, right?
Yeah, I mean, not more than processing. More than processing, what I feel like is here, the biggest problem here is the undeterministic nature of the diffusion models, right? Because we are talking about sign language. Sign language has a specific signs that need to be mapped from the word. So you cannot control your diffusion model to do, unless you're using Comfy UI and have that. But still you use ControlNet. Maybe ControlNet will work here, right?
And that's why I use the most appropriate sign language from the ASL library instead of asking ChatGPT for it. So I can produce a mathematical equation that represents the model and its movement instead of trying to, I think ChatGPT, any of the GPTs, I think are going to be too crazy in their responses sometimes. And I need to be able to make sure that it understands language transition. It isn't subject, verb, object. Sign language is object, subject, verb. So the sentence has to be transformed before it's produced.
I think if you could get, and this is my opinion, I think that if you could use Whisper to take speech to text, and then take the text and create a series of dingbats, right, that are American Sign Language, and get it to interpret the text as those signs. You know what I'm saying? You could take it and get it to, if you could get that part done, I think that's huge, right? It's very, very big. And that may be the alternative to doing video, right? If you can at least get an image, right, on the screen of what's being said. I'm actually, you can't see me, but I'm actually right now doing a poor job of imitating sign language. But if you could get those images on the screen, I think that would be a really big first step, right? A really good first step, until we can get to the point where AIs can generate, or I should say models can generate video as quickly as you're needing it. But I think it's a fantastic goal, Todd. And I'm not part of this thing, so I apologize for keeping the butt in, but I think that is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to do. I think that is a very noble thing, and I wish.
And I'm close. I can produce, like I said, wireframes with fingers, wireframe, and I can produce the sign language as a wireframe. I just would really like it to be a human instead of a stick figure.
Oh,
I'd like to see you. I'd like to be able to see you take somebody's speech, right, a couple paragraphs, and be able to get that through your model in real time, and have it sign in real time, and have somebody validate that you're just a little bit behind or something. And once you get that piece of the puzzle done, right, this is just my opinion. Once you get that piece of the puzzle done, then you can invest more time into seeing how you can get live video, image generation. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm retired, so I have all the time in the world, and I have no goal. I don't want to sell anything. I just want to give it away.
Todd, I think it's a great way to spend your retirement. I hope to be able to do stuff like that pretty soon. And again, it's a very noble thing, and I wish you all success in the world with it. I think it's awesome. That's what we as a community should be doing with AI and stuff like that, is side projects like this. So. Yeah. All right, it's not I'm sorry if I'm running over your speaker. It's been a wonderful seminar, and I'm just going to try and be quiet right now.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, great discussion. I mean, definitely, I'm enjoying this interaction. Yeah, good job, Todd. I mean, that's yeah. If in case you're already generating the stick figures, then yeah, probably just mapping that through ControlNet or something like that. But having to done that in real time, yeah, probably we can discuss more about that, Todd. It's really interesting project. We can discuss that offline. We'll be in touch. Any other questions anyone has? I see, Ruchi, you were asking what are the tools used here. Can you tell me where are you referring that to?
I think she was trying to ask before you explained about CrewAI and other tools that you mentioned. So it was before that she posted the question, what are the tools used here?
Okay. Yeah, tools could be, yeah, anything like, it could be a API call, it could be, code interpreters or search, DuckDuckGo. Yeah, it could be many tools that are out there. Anything that requires access to data, or even that ChatGPT or anything could solve a problem, that could be that could be treated as a tool. How Todd is using code generator to generate stick figures, where, that could be a tool too, because he's using, instead of having a model do generate that, we're grounding that with, with mathematical formula. So you're using that as a tool. ChatGPT might not be, it can do something, it can hallucinate, when you ask a specific questions, it can hallucinate. But in order to ground it, we can have it generate code and then perform that action. So it can generate the code and validate it. So now if you see the O1 model, it does do some validation with writing code. So if you ask how many R's on strawberry, it is actually writing Python code to take that as a string and then analyzing how many R's are there. So even though it cannot out of the box answer that question, but it is able to use code interpreter or code generation as a tool to, to understand or to answer certain questions. So yeah, there could be many things could be treated as tools. I can say just like how we using different tools to answer something. I think ChatGPT or AI agent does use them as well. Any other questions anyone has? Yes, Barrett, I can give you the copy of this presentation for sure. And we're also recording this. I think we should have we will have this on YouTube pretty soon. And I feel like future of AI agents, I think next year going to be year of AI agents. So we'll be seeing a lot of AI agents coming up, doing a lot of different things. AI agents deployed on physical device, they're already there. I mean, embodied AI or all of these robotics that are coming up with humanoid robots, they already have AI agents inbuilt. But, they are probably doing a bit of more different kind of AI agents, which are mainly they're doing inverse, reverse, reinforcement learning. They have embodied AI algorithms. But yeah, you probably have Apple already has a model running on its phone. The new models of Apple Intelligence already has AI running in it. So future, maybe those would be advanced AI agents doing a bit more complicated task and helping us. And yeah, they do have a personal on-device agent. They do now, we can generate good emojis and all with Apple Intelligence. Expedited research, definitely. Research will be automated. There'll be a lot of businesses which are built with AI agents. There'll be like 2 or 3 person companies doing a lot more with AI agents, achieving a lot more, democratizing areas where we are not even imagining now. I mean, there are some small startups working on building like alloys, which are novel. There are companies which are working on AlphaFold, which is a protein folding problem they're solving. So there are small startups who are even working on cancer research now to cure cancer. So I think these AI agents would probably empower, and empower and also fuel innovation is what I believe in the next coming years. And these are multimodal, so they can actually see now, and also all these modalities are just coming together: speech, vision, text. I think it will be a very interesting future. Yeah, I think I'm concluding. The presentation is done. Please post any of the questions that you have or anything that you want to discuss.